So they say education is the most important component, or the I've heard people say so many things about education, like you can steal something, you can steal a man's possessions, but you can never steal his or her education. So I grew up with that was sort of the ethos of my upbringing. So I grew up with that chip on my shoulder. I was also thinking that a part of the difference between American people and people, and especially the black American people that I've come in contact with, like my ex-wife, they feel like success is buying like a Bentley or buying a fur coat, like the trappings, the status symbols. Where other people, like the Asian people, the Indian people, and the Africans, they believe that their education is the most important thing, because with an education, they can make a Bentley, they can make a fur coat, right? And I think that's a big part of the difference. And another thing I've noticed is that, just to speak to the differences and some of the underground problems in the Department of Education that I've seen, is that, especially when it comes to engineering, there's a dropout crisis in America. And in the engineering departments that I call into and I've been trying to sell my product to, the people who are running these engineering departments are the engineers who dropped out of college for the exact same reason that I've created this program, which is just the irony of that abounds. And these engineering teachers get really upset with me, because these engineering, like they're in charge of these CTE departments, career and technical education, black engineering, CTE directors, all the ones that I've spoken with. I'm talking about you. Just in case you watch this video, yes, I am talking about you. And I know they get angry with me, because they're like, he didn't drop out and he actually created an engineering product, which is what you're supposed to do, what we all dreamed of doing. Ironically, I somehow have done it, not because I'm smarter than anybody, but because I just didn't give up, right? So I realized that the only way to get those engineering teachers to do the right thing, because they're not prepared, they're not capable of preparing these black children to actually graduate. They couldn't graduate themselves. They're college dropouts, and they went to the place where they know that they can be seen as superior, even if they dropped out the public school system. So I'm not talking to them right this moment. What I'm speaking to are the colleges, because the colleges have they're a higher grade. They're a step above the public schools, right? You escape from the public schools and get into college somehow. I used to hear when people would say, like, my cousin dropped out of high school, smart girl, right? And I looked down at her, as all Jamaican parents would. But now, after what I've seen in the public schools, I actually think, I see why she dropped out. I understand. I don't look at it as bad of a thing. I don't judge the kids that dropped out the way I used to, because the public schools are just pathetic and insipid. For the reasons I just denoted. Most of the engineering teachers are dropped out of school, and when I talk to them, they'll say to me, "Yeah, that's exactly why I dropped out," but they still won't hire me to help their kids, which is just pathetic. Just pathetic. So I'm speaking to the colleges now. What I'm saying is, the colleges see this, and I talked to them. I talked to about 4 of them today. And there's the colleges that are trying to make sure that the kids don't drop out. They have these retention specialists. Bravo to them, right? Because they know that if the kids drop out, then unlike the public schools, they could go out of business. So they hire people specifically to do retention, which is a great thing. But so I want to speak to you, and I noticed, I can just hear it in their tone, because the public school, some of the superintendents tried this too. They say, we don't need him. We can take his engineering ideas, and we can have one of our engineering teachers reverse engineer it and create it better than him. And to that, I say, you can't. I had to explain this to 4 retention people today, because I could hear them thinking quiet, and I had to say, now, just in case you're thinking of taking this and showing it to you, you can't. Here's why. First of all, I'm saying to the kids that I'm going to teach you how to make a money machine. One. Two, your engineering teachers don't know what a disruptive innovation is and don't know what a unicorn company is because they were taught exactly like I was. The only reason I figured this out was because I had some friends who went to an Ivy League school and were hanging out in the entertainment industry, and they told me. So your engineering teachers don't know this either. Three, if you have engineering teachers that are Asian or white, hopefully you have some engineering teachers that are black. They're not salespeople. Engineers are notoriously unarticulate, nerdy. They don't have that many, they're not emotionally intelligent. They don't have social skills, allegedly. They're weird, like Elon Musk yesterday. That weirdness, all right? That's them. They're awkward, right? So they're not going to be able to sell this to your kids. They don't have a cultural currency with your kids the way I do. Your kids are going to see me walk into your class with my polo Ralph Lauren purple label ties and suits, which I have many of, a closet full of, and the kids are going to look me up and down and they're going to examine me and they're going to be like, you know what? I trust this guy. I trust this guy because he looks like me, and any guy that's dressed like him probably knows how to make a money machine. So that's the third, I think that's the third or fourth reason. Let's just say the fifth reason is, even if you did give this to your engineering teachers and tried to get them to re-engineer it, it would take them 10 years to come up with something that's remotely like this. That's how much money would that cost you? 50, 60,000, or I mean, whatever the number is. It may cost you $100,000 where you could just hire me for 15 and you get it instantly. So it makes no sense to even try to do that. These are just some of the reasons why it doesn't make sense to try to take this and say, I have engineering teachers, I'm going to show it to them and we don't need this guy. That's not the case. Your engineering teachers are not going to be able to tell because the first part of this is I have to sell the kids myself. Your engineering teachers didn't hang out in clubs and travel to Miami and back and forth chasing rappers. Your engineering teachers are not going to be able to interject it in a marketing context. Excuse me. Your engineering teachers don't know anything about marketing and sales, which is part of what you need to make the company a unicorn. The product is just the first part. Your engineering teachers don't know anything about sales. I can teach your kids to write TV commercials and different marketing strategies because I lived it. I was in the industry. So I just want to clarify respectfully that we can do this a lot quicker, a lot more effectively, and a lot cheaper by hiring me, as opposed to you trying to say, okay, yeah, he thinks he's smart, give it to our engineering teachers. They're probably smarter than him because they're Asian or they're white, and they can do it better than him. And I'm going to tell you that they can't. All right? So the reason I'm making this specific, not to be arrogant, this is called attack marketing. That's what this is, the term attack marketing. I mean, I have to attack the competition because my customers are actually my competitors. That's what makes this difficult. Not only do I have to overcome the notion that I have a product that can actually add value to your company's life, I have to also sell you on the fact that your engineering teachers cannot do what I can do. They, as smart as they may be, they cannot do this. All right? And by the time they figure out how to do it, 10 to 15 years would have gone by, and even if they can figure out how to do it, your kids are not going to buy it from them, especially if they're a classroom full of black children. This is my strategic positioning in the industry. And I just want to explain that because when I was going through my divorce, of course I went to see attorneys, and of course I was thinking, I can just write the motion myself, I don't need this attorney. But I did need the attorney. I needed a good attorney. I didn't have one, but I needed a good attorney, all right? And it's the same thing here. Consider me your attorney. I'm going to lobby to your students and give them a compelling argument in 4 short seminars where your retention rates should increase exponentially. So even if you were to pay me, not only do we need to do this for your students, We also need to train your teachers and your entire staff on this, because for this to work drastically, after I leave, you almost have to think of your institution as a home. And you have to indoctrinate your students with this notion of, okay, you're not aiming at a job anymore, you're aiming at making companies. To put this, because when I leave, your teachers have to walk around and antagonize them with the notion of being a disruptor and making a unicorn. That's going to change the cycle. If I'm there, no matter how compelling I am and no matter how much of a standing ovation I get, when I leave, they may forget it. They may get caught up in their lives and forget it. Your staff has to keep it alive. So not only do we need to indoctrinate your kids, we also need to indoctrinate your staff. And that's when we have something special. All right, so I hope this made sense. I don't mean to be too aggressive, but I have to say this because this has happened numerous times. And speaking to 4 or 5 retention specialists today, I could hear them thinking it in the back. And when I started telling them this, they didn't hang up the phone. They listened to me, which means that's what they were thinking. Please go to https://theformula.us so you can learn more about the amazing work we can do, because you saw what Elon Musk did on Martin Luther King's birthday. He's throwing Nazi signs. They are, and every one of Trump's cronies in his cabinet is a tech billionaire. They're about to wage a technology war against the black community, and we are not prepared.